get to live with a little more agency because of her work. I mean, that's tremendous. We lost a giant. But I don't think it underscores what the Joe Biden campaign is all about. We are fighting to restore the soul of this country. But I would like to think that Ruth would say that that's not good enough. So we're going to build it back better for Ruth.
Yes. And Mayor, I'm going to go with you now. If you can go ahead and tell me what that her passing meant to you.
And I should say, Tristan, I also have had the ice cream. That was what I did on Friday. But today we're getting ready for the real work. You know, every time I think a woman uses a credit card or consents to her own medical treatment, we owe that to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She had an amazing legal career and did such important work using our courts to make sure that we could all have fair treatment. We, in our modern Arizona, she wrote the opinion to protect Arizona's redistricting and our ability to have an independent commission at the state and federal level that draws districts. So we have a much more competitive state because of that independent process. We have multiple congressional districts where multiple parties can win, which leads to more vibrant debate. It also leads to more television commercials. So that is something as well. But I think healthy to have that debate. And so her legacy is something we feel all the time. I obviously am thinking a lot about Roe v. Wade and a woman's right to choose and what it could mean if we have a Supreme Court that makes a change there. And I believe healthcare should be between a woman and her doctor. And so that's something that motivates me as well. Certainly it puts both our presidential race and then the Senate race, depending on the timing of the confirmation. Mark Kelly would take office earlier than other newly elected senators because he's filling out the partial reminder of the term for Senator McCain. So just the stakes are so high for us anywhere, but especially in Arizona. So good to be with all of you tonight. And then I guess on final word, I am Jewish. And so the fact that her passing occurred right before the Jewish New Year has some neat significance, and also we've started a new year. So if you all want to observe the new Jewish New Year, it has just started. So we're starting over. So if you've had enough of 2020, maybe you can be honorary Jewish for a little while, and it's all better from here on out.
That would be great.
Thank you all for that. The next question we have is for Kate and Tristan. What is at stake for the country and the state in this election? I know you've touched on a couple topics, but yeah, what's at stake? Mayor Gallego, do you want to go first?
So I am the mother of a 3-year-old, and I just think about this will determine so much about the future, about we address long-term challenges, whether it be public health or climate change or justice and equity. To me, that is on the ballot and the future. He was born in January of 2017. And so I was at home with him nursing and watching the president's inauguration. And it was a little bit of a tough dystopian view of our country to hear as a new mom, and you're holding your baby and just asking, what kind of world are you born into? And then just the next day was the Women's March, and I think an answer was, we're going to go out and we're going to make it a good world for our community. So all of that is on the ballot, and I would say every race matters as well. We have school board members who determine the future of our kids and their education, as well as making key public health decisions. We are electing a legislator, half of the city council. We are super excited to be joined by Councilwoman Deborah Stark, who is on tonight. And right now we have a great majority of Democratic women So hopefully, we are the largest city in the country governed by women, and excited to, I hope, see that continue as well. So I join Sandy, thank you, Sandy, for all the work you've done on WomanUP, but also in woohoo Deborah Stark. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Kristen?
Yes, there is so much on the ballot, from the top of the ballot all the way down. I'll echo what Mayor Gallego spoke about in terms of our school boards, our city councils. There are mayoral races that are also on the ballot. At the local level, we are so close to controlling, and by we, I mean Democrats, so close to controlling the state legislature, and that would be absolutely incredible. We have so many committed and dedicated state representatives and state senators who are fired up, and they've got bills that they are ready to get through, and bills that are ready to be voted on. But we need that majority in order for those bills to go through. My state representative, or one of my state representatives, Mitzi Epstein, Jennifer Germain is the other, and Sean Bowie is our state senator. And the three of them have just been absolutely fantastic to work with, and have done such an incredible job since getting to the State House. And one of the things that Senator Bowie always speaks about is the last couple of legislative sessions, they've spent a lot of time blocking really bad bills from being signed into law. And we would like to change that dynamic. Instead of stopping bad bills, we want to see all of the great bills that they have sitting on their desks, waiting in the hopper, waiting to go. That's what we want to see pass through our legislature, but also thinking about the future of our students and the crisis that our schools are in right now in terms of being underfunded, understaffed. That is absolutely unacceptable, and we cannot allow that to continue on. So our school board races are just as important. We have our corporate commission is also on the ballot. We have our county board of supervisors. We have Democrats running in every single district. So there are so many amazing things that can happen, not just for Democrats, not just for women, but for Arizonans all across the board that can happen if we all work together to vote up and down the ballot. And at the federal level, we talk about when we elect Joe Biden, when we elect Kamala Harris, we are looking at the Affordable Care Act is on the ballot. We are looking at the Voting Rights Act is on the ballot. It was gutted by the Supreme Court just a few years ago, and we need to restore that. We need to see the John Lewis Voting Rights Act signed into law. We have, as I mentioned, the Affordable Care Act. The Supreme Court, once again, is now on the ballot. We have women's rights on the ballot. So there are so many things that impact every single one of us at the local level, at the federal level, at the state level. And I look forward to what our country will become again once we have a change in leadership, and once we're able to do away with some of the really terrible and awful things that have happened over the last few years, and what great and amazing things can happen when we elect Democrats up and down the ballot.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask a question just to Mayor first, and I'm doing this one first because it's not on our list, and it'll throw Debbie a curveball. But once again, being a retired teacher, I gotta throw in some questions, you know? So Mayor, we're going through a pandemic right now, and the president went ahead and shifted everything to local, to the governor. And you were the first mayor to really take charge. So if you could tell us what that was like, and is that a norm?
So I have been lucky that I have been able to work with Mayor Coral Evans in Flagstaff and Mayor Regina Romero in Tucson. And we've actually been working together very closely. We together worked to push the governor on several things, including letting cities require masks and to try to get safety precautions at our cities. So we're pretty close in time, as well as with Mayor Tovar, who's running for the Corporation Commission, on executive orders trying to do protections. I should say that the mayor in the country, as far as I know, to put those precautions in place was London Breed, a dynamic African-American woman who leads the city of San Francisco. So there have been a lot of great leadership from the city, and there have been, our male colleagues have done a good job too. Republican Mayor Giles in Mesa did move forward on masking as well. So we've certainly not been alone, but I've been impressed with just even women globally. I think in New Zealand, we've seen an amazing prime minister and new mom put safety first for her country. And there's been some research on the number of female prime ministers who've taken public health seriously and whose countries, both health and economy, are for the better for it. I don't know that it is related to gender in any way, but it is neat to celebrate. And the fact that we have female prime ministers and mayors is also neat. When I was making my decision to run for mayor, none of the 15 largest cities had female mayors, and Arizona's largest cities did not either. And there's been a lot of change recently as well. So we're nowhere near 50-50. But
so how did you feel I was going to say, how did you feel about it being a curveball sent to the local instead of even at the governor or federal?
So obviously I wish we had a national strategy on a variety of things, from testing to safety, and then it would have been better, I think, to have more consistency. But if we need mayors to be making tough decisions in city councils, then we are willing to do so. In many ways, I feel like we're maybe closer to the problem, and so we see it. So I've done a lot of work on access to testing, and I live in South Mountain, where people were waiting 8 hours in July in the heat in their cars while they are struggling to breathe. And so, it's my neighbors and I see it. And I always wondered if maybe they just didn't, I don't know if they don't know or don't care, but when they went at the White House press conference, they said Mayor Gallego in Phoenix doesn't appreciate all the federal government is doing. And I just want to say, how can we declare success when people are, if I have to wait 2 hours for a doctor's appointment when my son is healthy, like that is hard, but 8 hours while you are struggling to breathe in the United States of America, at that time 4 months in. So maybe it's just cities are closer to what's happening, or there's no one else to pass the buck to, but it's been neat to see how many cities have stepped up. And I've been so impressed with our city staff, who, we don't have a public health department, but we got into it and developed partnerships and helped make sure people in our community could get services and utility aid and testing. And it all the time, it just would have been so much easier if we had national support to do all of this. But you know what, our librarians were willing to do check-in for testing, and teachers and librarians can solve all of the world's problems if we give them the resources. So maybe that's the beauty of local government.
There you go. Well, I personally thank you. That was my curveball question. I'll get back to the others, but Mayor, when you're not being asked another question, please look at the chat, because there's so many women that are either saying thank you so much, we really appreciate what you've done for us, and they're also asking what can they do for you. So please don't forget to go ahead and look at the chat, because it'll definitely put a great smile on my face, because I've been watching it the whole time, smiling while everybody's thanking you for what you've done. So thank you personally. So now, big question, as we all know, unfortunately, when Justice Ruth Bader passed away, Arizona was big before, but it just got bigger. So I'm going to be asking my panel again, and there's a bunch of questions, so if you don't mind, please listen. And I can repeat any question that you forget, okay? So don't forget that. So can Arizona go blue? What does this mean for a down ballot race for mayor and Tristan? And why is Arizona a swing state this year? And do you think having a Democratic election officials having an impact our status as a swing state? So if you don't also understand any of those questions, I'd be more than happy to help with the understanding also. So Tristan, if you can go ahead and speak first, please.
Yes, absolutely. Arizona is absolutely a swing state this year, and I think that plays in large part to the shifting dynamics and the shifting uh, demographics of our state. We have more younger people, we have more transplants from other parts of the country that are moving into Arizona. And I think that plays a large part in why we are seeing such a dramatic shift in political opinion here within the state. And I believe over the last couple of election cycles, we've been on the cusp of being able to turn some of these major offices to the Democratic side. So we've been inching towards this, and we've been inching and getting closer and closer over the last couple of election cycles. And I truly feel that this is the year that big wave is going to crest, and we're going to see the big blue wave wash over Arizona, and it's going to be a beautiful thing to see. I think as far as having our down ballot races, it's absolutely critical. I always advise people when you're voting in the voting booth or when you get your ballot in the mail, hopefully everybody here is signed up for the permanent early voting list, or PEVL. Start at the bottom and work your way to the top to make sure that you don't miss anything. Whether you are voting for the local constable in your precinct, whether you are voting for the Board of Supervisors, whether you are voting to retain judges, all of those things are going to impact decisions that are made at every level of government in our state. And every single one of those positions has an impact on how I live my life every day, how you all live your lives, the types of schools that your children are able to go to, the quality of education that they receive, the air quality that we all breathe every single day, the quality of our water, our environment, environmental protections for our federal lands and our state lands. All of those things are at stake on our ballot. So it's not enough to just vote for the big marquee races that you see, whether it be president, whether it be the mayor's race, or whether it be your state legislature, your state senator, your state representatives. It really, truly is imperative that we educate ourselves about every single position, every single office that is on the ballot. And I think it helps too to understand what that office does. This past election cycle, I have learned more about the county Board of Supervisors than I ever knew before, and all of the amazing candidates that we have running for those positions. I will be the first to admit I had no idea the County Board of Supervisors plays such a large role in how so many of our programs are funded, and just the size of the budget that they have to work with was just incredible to learn more about that. So the more you learn about some of these offices and the more you understand how they individually and collectively impact our daily lives, the more sense of urgency I think we feel, and that just reinforces the importance of voting for every single office all the way down the ballot, from your federal races all the way down to your constable and your judges.
Thank you so much. And Mayor, if you can go ahead and answer the same questions, please.
Wonderful. I agree with Tristan that we have really important and good opportunities to win at every level, including many where we have never won before in Arizona. I would also encourage you to pay attention to the ballot propositions. I don't know if I'm stealing Debbie's thunder, but I think
No,
there's
go ahead.
a WomanUP conversation about some of the statewide ballot initiatives. So if you need more information about those, a great opportunity. There's also PUP 449, which is key support for our county healthcare system. And that one, I think, it is worthy of your attention, especially when for so many we've seen the disparities in our healthcare system this year. We have home rule for the city, which allows us to set our budget at the city level. If it doesn't pass, we got to cut 1.3 billion during a recession. So I think that is worthy of your attention. There's now millions of dollars being sent in several legislative races because it is very possible to flip at least one, maybe both chambers of the state legislature. Two cycles ago, we elected multiple Democrats countywide, our county recorder, Adrian Fontes, and our sheriff, Paul Penzone. And there is thinking that momentum could continue at the county, including, as Tristan said, the Board of Supervisors is so incredibly important. They are our public health department. So they make decisions about so many things related to everything from COVID-19 to even how we fight HIV AIDS. And they also make key decisions about our transportation infrastructure, our funding for jails, and a variety of other programs. So I am very hopeful that people will come out and vote. I like that start at the bottom, as Tristan said, but the entire ballot does matter, and we want to get as many people to vote as possible. If you know any young people, since Nancy knows so many students, I would remind everyone that tomorrow is National Voter Registration Day. And as long as you are 18 by November 3rd, you can vote. The National Civic Center is a group that is working to get more high school students engaged and registered to vote if they are eligible. They did a study in Arizona and found that only 11% of our seniors or students who are eligible to vote, who are right around 18, are registered. So if you know a teacher or a high school student or anyone in that demographic, we only have till October 5th to get them registered. So we want everyone to be registered. But I would think for maybe people who are turning, like if you know a good Libra who's turning 18 in October, now's the time to make sure they get that registration in. And what better way to celebrate National Voter Registration Day? So in case others do not wish you tomorrow a happy voter registration day, I want to wish everyone a happy National Voter Registration Day, and think of something to do on that key holiday that we should spend more time on.
Like eat ice cream?
That
Yes,
is my answer to many.
It's always a good day for ice cream.
I
Always.
think so too. And
Mayor-
Joe Biden will agree too. So
Yes.
Debbie, you want to take it away?
Yeah, Mayor, thank you very much for telling the other half of the ballot story that Tristan started. And Nancy, thank you so much for asking that question about our city's response to the COVID pandemic, because anytime my mayor wants to talk about the leadership steps that she took to make us a safer community, I'm all for it. And Mayor, thank you for your leadership. Just thank you for that. Okay, so next question goes to Teresa, our wonderful person from the campaign. We've talked a little bit about them, but let's get it all in one. What are the important dates that are approaching?
Thank you. And so to just build on what Mayor Gallego has mentioned, if I can leave the viewers today with a few things to consider, it's this. We are only 14 days away from voter registration deadline in Arizona. We are only 16 days away from early voting beginning in Arizona. So let's not get sucked into thinking that we have time. The time is now. We have to make sure that we get every single person in our lives voting. And because we know that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris can't do it alone, they're counting on us to vote early. So you have to ask every person in your life if they have a voting plan. You tell them to sign up for the permanent early voting list. So as Tristan had mentioned, Pebble, this will allow them to vote by mail. If they already signed up a few elections ago, I would just recommend that they go ahead and check to make sure that they're still signed up. And you can check by visiting iwillvote.com. I will drop that in the chat as well. Again, that's iwillvote.com. Because we think that voting by mail is very safe. You could also, of course, walk it to a few locations that are going to be open in your area and drop it off. And just remember, if you're gonna mail it, it has to be received by the election office on November 3rd. So it's really important that you send it out. If you're gonna mail it, they send it out early to make sure that it counts. If you also want to go one step further, which is, I would very much encourage everyone on this call, and I think that that's why you're joining us tonight, is seeing how you can plug in and help. You can download the Vote Joe app. It's free and it's on the Apple, Samsung App Store. And it's an amazing relational organizing application that comes with the contacts on your phone. And you can send messages to your friends who are registered to vote. And perhaps, and this might be the most impactful way, you can also give a friendly nudge to your friends that you know are registered but that are not voting. So we think that you carry a very special bond with the people in your phone list. They want to hear from you. They don't really want to hear from people they don't know all the time. So just remember, you have that power of communication. So the Vote Joe application on your phone is a really awesome way to connect with your friends and family around that.
Thank you, Teresa. I think we're about to open it up to questions from the room.
Well,
I think Nancy's been checking the chat for questions.
I have, but I'm going to go back to a question because being that teacher I am.
Really quick, I had one more thing to say before you jump in. I've seen it come up a couple times in the chat. Folks are asking about recreational marijuana and school funding. WomanUP, in case you haven't seen it in the chat, WomanUP is having a session on Thursday back-to-back with experts to come in and talk about both of those propositions. So we won't really get to them tonight.
Perfect. Okay, so the question that didn't get answered was, do you think having a Democratic elections officials has any impact on the status of our swing state? Because as far as I know, this is the first time ever that we've had a Secretary of State being a Democrat, and also the Recorder's Office being a Democrat. Tristan, if you can go ahead and answer that question, please.
Sure. I don't know, to be honest, if having those two positions specifically, if there's a direct correlation in those two positions resulting in more people wanting to vote, but I do absolutely believe that having two Democrats in those positions have made it a lot easier for people to vote. Our county recorder, our Secretary of State, Secretary Hobbs, and here in Maricopa County, Recorder Fontes, have done just an absolutely tremendous job opening every available avenue to allow every eligible voter in Arizona to vote. Recorder Fontes is working around the clock to make sure that voting is easy and it's accessible. I was just looking at the Recorder's website today, and they have posted the list of vote centers, moving from a precinct voting model to a vote center model was something that has been implemented under Recorder Fontes. And starting on October 7th, the first day of early voting leading up to the November 3rd election, there will be more than 170 vote centers spread out across Maricopa County where you can either vote in person or you can drop off your ballot. That has never been done before. It certainly was not done under his predecessor. And so they have made voting easy. They have made it accessible. They have opened up the windows of transparency so that we all understand what's happening in their respective offices. So I would like to believe, and I do believe, that having those two positions held by those two individuals has created more confidence in our voting system here in Arizona. And I believe if voters have confidence in our voting systems, in our voting process, they are more inclined to vote. So I certainly tip my hat and certainly give credit where credit is due. And I certainly am grateful for both of the two, for the two of them. And plug here for Recorder Fontes. He is on the ballot, so we need to make sure that we re-elect Adrian Fontes as the Maricopa County Recorder.
Tristan, thank you for reminding us that he is on the ballot, because that is huge.
Absolutely.
He has been amazing. Before I have the mayor go ahead and answer that question, I just want you guys to know that I'll be checking the chat. So if you have any questions for anybody in the panel, please put that in the chat. If it's to a particular person, please make sure you tell me who that particular person is, and then I can ask them that question. Okay, Mayor, do you have anything else you wanted to add into what Tristan has already shared?
I have had the pleasure of working with both Recorder Fontes and Secretary of State Hobbs. I think they're both committed to fair elections and are not trying to tip the scales in any way, but they've both been really intentional about planning. Early on in the pandemic, Adrian Fontes reached out and talked to the city, where are the places that we could hold large voting events where social distancing and public health was a top priority. And so we've worked with him at our larger locations in the city, such as the convention center, where we can ensure people get a chance to vote in person. I agree with the advice that early voting at Pebble is the way to go. I will be planning to vote by mail, but I know there's some people who just love to go on election day. And so we've worked to make sure there are safe places to vote in person if you need to do so. And on other larger buildings like Burton Bar Library, we are partnering with them. Secretary Hobbs is really trying to plan ahead and look at all of the things that could happen on election day and prepare to have a safe vote. I do look at what happened in Georgia with their election to see what a difference a Secretary of State who's committed to a fair election can be. And so that is all I'm hoping for, is that everyone will get the chance to vote and have their vote be counted. But I do plan to vote by mail and to mail or drop off my ballot quite shortly after I receive it. I used to always hang on because some campaigns stop sending you mail once you vote, and I want to see what everyone was saying, but I'll be green this year and get off those mailing lists and just get that vote counted as early as possible. And if you're interested in being involved, if you're an attorney, there is still a great need for many attorneys to do election protection work. If you wanted to be involved with, there's huge number of volunteering positions on election day, both on the official side helping administer elections and on the campaign side as well. So it's phone banking, voter outreach until then, and then we really focus on fair elections. And I think Teresa may have something to add in that area as well.
I would also encourage everyone, if you haven't already, to sign up for ballot notifications. Arizona has a great system in place where you can sign up to be notified of where your ballot is at every step in the process. When your ballot is mailed, you'll get an email and or a text message. When your ballot is received, when the signature has been verified, when it's been counted. So I would certainly also encourage everyone to make sure that they sign up for those ballot notifications as well.
I echo everything that has been said so brilliantly. At this point, really, our biggest ask is from the campaign side is help us build the army of volunteers that we need to be talking to our neighbors who are voters to make sure that they have important education and information around where to send their ballots, timelines, etc. There's definitely a need for poll workers and poll observers. We want to make sure that people are respected when they show up at a polling site, and that's where you can lean in and help us build that capacity. And so I think I have the email, or not, excuse me, the link. Let me find that and drop it in the chat if a voter protection is something you want to do.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to go ahead and go over questions now. I am going to go in order. So if I miss your question, do not take it personally. Just take it as I missed your question. Please ask again. Okay, type of thing. So I'm going to go
really
in order.
Quick, Nancy, we are very close on time, so we want to double check with Tristan and Mayor if they have a little extra time to hang out as we get through some of the questions, because time. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that okay with you guys?
Yes.
I unfortunately have a hard stop, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Sandy, Debbie, Nancy. You guys are amazing for convening this space and the thousands of women who have come together. And it has been just such a pleasure in such a difficult time for our country to be with so many people who are doing amazing things. I think Councilwoman Stark and I feel the same way. So good luck and keep up the good work.
Thank you
So much, Mayor.
Thank you. So when I ask these questions, if it doesn't give me to a particular person, if Teresa or if you guys can just, whoever knows the answer, to go with it. So the first question is, has there been more information on the possible Supreme Court nominees being considered? Has anybody heard anything?
Speaking specifically for the Biden campaign, I have not heard anything definitively. Teresa, you may have more insight that you can share in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, really right now, today, Vice President Biden has called on respecting basically the very rules that the Republicans put forth when we had the opportunity. And so really calling out the hypocrisy around it. We know that it's going to take for us to peel off 4 senators. And I say this as like a citizen, not on the campaign. On Friday, just as a coping mechanism, I donated to some frontline races because it just felt like the little thing I could do at the moment. So really, I know that we have an amazing speaker in the House. She's gonna, I'm sure, have some type of machination around this. But at this moment, we don't know much more other than how do we delay, and then win in November.
Perfect. Thank you. Question about how whether we pivot our Go TV messages to voters to take into account the Supreme Court dynamics. Is it just Biden, Trump, Kelly McSally, or other races in Arizona?
Tristan, do you want
to? At the local level, our focus is still on our local candidates. I think everyone, generally speaking, is still trying to process the news of the passing of Justice Ginsburg and certainly wanting to pay respects to her in the time that has passed, the short amount of time that has been passed since it was announced that she passed away on Friday. So really, I think it's been such a whirlwind the last couple of days that we're all still trying to wrap our heads around it. But as Teresa said earlier, we are encouraging people to put their sadness, their grief, their frustration at the Republican hypocrisy, to channel all of those feelings that we have into action. I know Saturday morning for me, I got up and I did literature drops throughout my neighborhood for our county candidates, for our local candidates. I'm doing everything that I can. And as Teresa said, the name of the game right now is delay, vote, and win. And I think that's where all of our focus needs to be. We can only control what we can control. And what we can control in this very moment is our energy, our activism, and our ability to get to the polls, to encourage our neighbors to get to the polls, to send those ballots back early. Those are the things that we can control right now. As frustrating as it is to not be able to predict the future and to not be able to dictate, and as frustrating as all of that hypocrisy is, I think we just need to channel that anger, and we need to keep in mind, what would Justice Ginsburg want us to do? She would want us to vote. She would want us to mobilize. She would want us to learn about our candidates, to learn about our issues. She would want us to fight. She fought for every single one of us up until her last breath. And that is the very least that we can do for her, is to continue on her legacy and to continue to fight for the issues that are important and the issues that matter to all of us.
Awesome, thank you. And I don't know if either one of you guys know this because it's more at the Copac area. The pandemic is nowhere near over. Could the mask requirement be taken away? that could be scary for all of us, because that's kind of a rumor that's running around right now.
I have heard that as well. There is a convening, I believe it's of the Board of Supervisors to discuss. I believe that meeting was today, actually.
It was.
I don't know the outcome. There hasn't been a whole lot that's come out in terms of what was discussed or what was decided. I would like to believe, and I strongly believe in the leadership that we have here in the city of Phoenix and across Maricopa County, great mayors that we have, much like Mayor Gallego, wanting to put public health and public safety first. We know that this pandemic is not over. And it seems that people are starting to get a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more comfortable, but we are seeing an uptick in cases in Europe. We are knocking on the door of flu season here in the United States. So now is not the time to let up our guard. Now is not the time to get complacent. So I certainly, much like all of you, will be very interested to hear in the days to come what is to make of our mask mandate. But I believe in science, and I believe in our leaders that they will make the appropriate decisions in the best interest of the public health and safety.
Awesome. This question really was for the mayor, but I'm going to ask you, Tristan, just in case you know, and if you don't know, I'll move on. It's all good.
And Tristan,
says,
let us know if you have a hard stop at some point.
Yeah.
No, please, I'm good. I'm good.
Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate
yeah,
it.
Absolutely.
and thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Besides hoping and praying that enough Republicans vote to not add a new justice before Inauguration Day, is there anything Democrats can do to stop this? I'm wondering if the removal of the filibuster has completely ruined our chances. Many thanks to you and your husband's service. Back to the mayor, but everybody, I thank everybody's husband for their services. So thank you to anybody who's married. Okay.
Yes, there has been a lot of debate and a lot of questions about the filibuster right now, whether it's necessary, whether we need to get rid of it. I've also heard some Democrats talking about adding more justices to the court, sort of a, we'll see you 2 and we'll raise you 4, 5, or 6. I think those are all decisions that will be made down the road. Like I said earlier, I think right now we're all trying to process, and I think for all of us, our focus should be on the general election, encouraging voters to register, encouraging voters to turn out, because none of this is going to matter if we don't take the Senate, right? That should be our focus, is not only getting Vice President Biden and Senator Harris elected, but also making sure that we maintain control of the House of Representatives and that we flip the Senate. I know the Mark Kelly race just became of the utmost importance when it comes to this decision about what we're going to do with the Supreme Court. But I think that needs to be our focus. That should be our focus. And I trust in the leadership that we have at the federal level. I trust in Speaker Pelosi. I trust in Minority Leader Schumer, that we will come out on the other side of this and that they will make decisions that are not just best for the party, but they will be in the best interest of the entire country.
Awesome. Thank you. So the next question says, I am torn about the marijuana prop.
Mm-hmm.
Can any of you speak on that one?
I can speak on it just briefly here. I know there are a lot of questions floating around about Prop 207 and what that means. Generally, the easiest way to explain it is anything in terms of income. They are talking about legalizing marijuana. It would be a very specific amount, and it would be a tax, and funding from that marijuana tax would be applied across the board to increase funding in other areas of our education system. It applies to individuals that reach certain income thresholds, certain income if you're single, and if you are filing jointly, if you have a spouse and you have family income. I don't want to give the thresholds because I'm not 100% sure what they are, and I certainly don't want to be putting out false information. But it's any amount over those particular thresholds that would be taxed. And then the marijuana itself itself would also be taxed, and that would, as I said, go to avenues in terms of support for our education systems across the state. I certainly am not in a position to advise anyone one way or the other. I think everybody is going to have to make decisions that impact them or will be best for them based on their family dynamic, their situation levels. But I would certainly encourage, I know Debbie mentioned it earlier, there's another discussion later this week where Prop 207 will be discussed in greater detail. So I would encourage everyone to turn out for that so you can hear from the experts on Prop 207 and you can get those questions answered.
Awesome, thank you. This really is for the room, so if you guys can just listen. It was in the chat, but I just want to make sure that I bring it up. If there's anyone available in this group who could do presentation on the ballot propositions virtually and for a women's civic organization. And Linda Holman Bentley is the one who sent that. If you can, please go back and check it out in the chat and respond to her. I would appreciate that. A couple of you have been. I'm doing my teacher eye thing here. How has the burning down of our DNC offices affect our Dem campaigns, etc.?
Oh, that's a great question. I was absolutely crushed when I heard the news of our headquarters being damaged. Just to a quick recap, the Maricopa County Democratic Office is a building that is shared with the Arizona Democratic Party. Maricopa County is on one side, the Arizona Democratic Party is on the other side of that office. The Maricopa County side of that building was firebombed over the summer. Everything inside the building was lost, everything from files and records to memorabilia. We are very fortunate, though, that tragedy has not impacted any of our campaigns. Thankfully, nobody was hurt in that incident as well. Most of our office staff at that time was working from home because we were in the middle of a pandemic. So many of our voter files stored electronically on laptops and iPads and things of that nature were not lost. So what was lost was a lot of equipment. So computers, iPads, Fire Sticks, things of that nature. But we did, in the wake of that tragedy, we did what Democrats do. We came together, we pulled together, we fundraised like crazy. We had fundraising and donations coming in from all over the country. So we are still, the party is still accepting donations, and we, at some point, will rebuild our office. You know, up from the ashes comes the phoenix, and that is the focus. That is the goal of Stephen Sklugacki, who is the chair of the Maricopa County Democratic Party, and his team, and Maritza Saenz and Felicia Rodolini, the chair of the Arizona Democratic Party. But our focus right now is November 3rd. Let's get through November 3rd, and then we can take care of the office and what we need to do there.
Okay, and the last question, and Cynthia Ingrams, you're the one who asked this, so I just want to make sure that I'm asking it right. It just says, what's on my ballot pamphlet I just received from AZ 2020 general election. So Cynthia, if you can kind of ask that question. Okay.
Very good.
Oh, that's awesome.
Cynthia, you have to unmute yourself.
Really, what I was just stating is I just received this in the mail. I think most people probably have. We just received it. It's a huge, it's pretty good sized pamphlet. It's about not quite a half an inch thick. And it says, what's on my ballot? And I just received it. It's for the Arizona 2020 general election publicity pamphlet. And it talks about judges' performances. It talks about also the different ballot, issues, the Proposition 207, pros and cons. It also talks about, arguments for and against 208 as well. It seems like it's very informative, and I just was really trying to make a statement that this is something everybody should be getting in their mail soon. I guess since I got it, and I get 2 ones for each of us for being in the registered.
Yes, that's a great resource. So thank you, Cynthia, for pointing that out. And everyone should be getting theirs in the mail. If you haven't already, be on the lookout for that in the next few days here.
That's all. Thank you.
Awesome.
And
Thank you so
all.
very much.
Okay.
And I am going to have Teresa go ahead and wrap this up for me.
Oh,
Yes.
wow. Thank you.
Very briefly before Teresa, our founder, Sandy Price, has asked us to announce again, everybody in WomanUP, if you will just go to the WomanUP page, click on events, you will see the 2 next events coming up this week so that you can participate in the Thursday evening presentation, or receive the Thursday evening presentation for legalizing marijuana and Invest in Ed. So WomanUP events, click, join, attending, all of that.
Awesome. Thank you, Debbie. Well, I just, before we close out, I just want to say thank you to the organizers of this, fellow panelists, and everyone that's on this call. From here to election, we need to, the way that we're going to win this, our pathway to victory is that we make sure that we get every single person that we can to vote for Joe Biden for president. And the way we're going to accomplish that is through people like you. If you can donate some of your time to join us at our phone banks, text banks, WomanUP has graciously agreed to set up a weekly phone bank starting September 30th. So that's every Wednesday afternoon, evening. Together as a community just like this, we're going to get on Zoom and we're going to make some calls to our friends and neighbors and talk to them about voting, importance of voting, and against, most importantly, sharing critical information around what they should be doing once they receive their ballot. We're 14 days away from registration deadline, 16 days away from this whole thing starting up. So we can't do this without you. I have actually in the chat dropped a form. If you want to get involved a little bit more on the Joe Biden campaign, please fill out that form and we will follow up with you of where exactly you can plug in. But again, WomanUP phone bank starting, excuse me, for those that don't know what a phone bank is, it's like it sounds. We will give you a list and a script and you are going to call every number on that list. And you're going to try to make contact with voters, because what every study shows is that when we contact voters, they actually do something about it. And so we want to make sure that we have a lot of people doing something about it, and that's voting and making sure their whole households are voting. But we need you to help build this capacity. So please let us know if you can help us by filling out the form and the link. I also dropped our 1-800 number. If you see anything of concern during the election, perhaps you see people getting turned away. That's why poll protection team is very important, or anything else, please call the hotline and we'll get some attorneys on it. We're gonna have a really safe and we're gonna have a trusted election when we work together. And it's not just the people who are on the campaign. You have every agency to help us do it. So thank you so much for even spending this afternoon with us.
Teresa, I'd love to thank you also. We invited a lot of people on our wall to help us organize, and you have been so proactive, and we absolutely must organize in order to have the result we want. And I've just been thrilled by everything that you've offered us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, and I just want to thank Sandy Price for putting this wonderful group together, because without her, we wouldn't be here. So she has been doing an amazing job. She's very humble, but I still thank you, Sandy, for doing what you do, because we're turning Arizona blue and you're a big part of that. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Alice, for being here with us.
Thank you all. Hope to
Thanks,
see a bunch of you
everybody.
tomorrow night.
Thanks,
you,
everybody.
Thanks, Nancy and Debbie, for moderating, Tristan for all of the great knowledge drops that you had today. And thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. Have a good night.
Have a great
Thank you.
evening, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.